Hello everyone, my name is Akanksha Nani, and welcome to my YouTube channel Neuro Chat with AG. On this channel, I plan to cover topics that are closest to my heart and support the neurodiverse community. Topics related to neurodiversity, autism spectrum disorder, and more. On the channel, I will interview thought leaders, esteemed researchers, scientists, professors, doctors, and psychologists, seeking their views and updates on their latest work, research, etc. I will also chat with parents of neurodiverse kids and adults and talk about experiences of neurodiverse individuals. Chou is a dedicated clinic coordinator at the UCLA PEERS Program for the Education and Enrichment of Relational Skills Clinic. His role involves overseeing and facilitating the program to ensure that participants receive personalized interventions to enhance their social skills. With a strong background in clinical practice and a passion for helping others, Chou plays a crucial part in the success of UCLA Peers, contributing to its mission of fostering social success and well-being for all participants. Josh will be pursuing his doctoral studies in clinical psychology at the University of Massachusetts in Boston starting 2024 fall. Mr. Chou, welcome, and thank you very much for the time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Can you share a bit about your background and your journey thus far?
Yeah, I'm happy to share about my background and my journey. I moved to the US for college at UCLA back in 2018, and that's where I did my undergrad. I got a Bachelor's of Science in psychobiology, and I double minored in disability studies and global health. And so while I was at UCLA, I started volunteering as a research assistant at the UCLA Peers Clinic. And that's where I got my first start and exposure to the interventions and programs at the UCLA Peers Clinic. And now I work as a clinic coordinator here at the Peers Clinic. And I'm really focused around the socio-emotional well-being of neurodivergent youth and adults, and that's what I plan to center my career around. But that's a little bit about my background.
Awesome, thank you. And what are your responsibilities as a clinic coordinator?
Yeah, so my responsibilities as a coordinator, there are a lot of different things that go into being a coordinator. We have a lot of programs going on. I coordinate our peers' online social skills classes that we offer to those all around the world, as well as our peers' 5-week dating classes and our peers' summer boot camp. So with the coordination of that, it's just overseeing the team, kind of making sure that everybody has all their information, kind of consolidated together, and also just be in contact with all the families from beginning to end. I screen all the families, meaning I talk to them to make sure that it's a good fit for the program. And then once they're enrolled in the program and they go through the whole program, I see them until graduation. And I've also had a chance to lead some of our educational groups that we offer, and just to get experience with how it is to provide our peers programs too. But yeah, that's the coordination, just making sure that all these groups that we have in these programs run smoothly. On top of that, there's also like research projects we have going on at the Peers Clinic. So I've done some research. My research mainly surrounds the research of empathy in autistic young adults. So how empathy might serve as a predictor for different internalizing symptoms or socio-emotional outcomes, things like loneliness, social anxiety, depression, social functioning, things like that. That's a little bit about my work as a clinic coordinator.
And what inspired you to specialize in working with individuals with social challenges, especially those on the spectrum?
So I would say, in general, what connects me to my work and makes me feel like this is where I belong is just, to begin with, I have like a lot of personal connection to neurodivergent, and that's something that heavily impacted, or like I guess like something that's really prevalent in my life, that and I'm neurodivergent myself as well. And so I feel like it felt natural when I fell into this field. And on top of that, what made me want to continue working in this field is just gaining the clinical experience working with neurodivergent youth and adults through peers, seeing the different areas where like we can serve neurodivergent populations, and just seeing how that informed my research and how my research inspired me to want to change different clinical practices. I think that's why I want to continue to be in clinical psychology and to focus on neurodivergent populations. So yeah, I feel like a lot of different factors inspired me to want to pursue this field. Um, yeah, both personal and professional.
What do you think are the key skills required to be a successful clinical coordinator? What are the basic educational qualifications, and what really helps you, you know, be be great at what you do?
I will say that being a clinic coordinator, especially at peers, being like working in mental health care or healthcare in general, is really demanding. You see a lot of, participants, and so because we're under the hospital system, our participants are considered patients. And so it's a lot of responsibility because of that. And you see a lot of people, especially because we do group kind of social skills programs. And so because of that, it's a lot of responsibility and a lot of families you have to be in contact with, a lot of administrative work on in the background, and um, getting all that clinical experience and that research experience on top of that. Sometimes it can be overwhelming if you're not organized enough with your time and your tasks. So I would say like organization and like being able to manage your time wisely is something that's really important in terms of being a coordinator. Another thing is just knowing what things you can, like responding in the moment. I guess there are different situations that come up, and knowing like what's the best thing to do in the moment, especially when it comes to like maybe clinical issues, who to report about those things and who to refer people to. Even though those come with time, and like you'll know more about that. I think that's something that you people should focus on, learning more about as a coordinator. And in terms of educational requirements, I know that typically people come in with a bachelor's degree. Some people come in with a master's degree as well, but typically a bachelor's, and usually something related to psychology, I want to say. Yeah, also just a passion and an interest in serving neurodivergent populations. And because if you're not really passionate about the field, then it's going to be even tougher for you if your heart's not there, Yeah.
Can you give an overview of the PEERS program and its primary objectives? What some of the key social skills that participants learn through the program are?
Sure. So, yeah, so our peers programs, we have a lot of different programs, but I would say our flagship programs that we started off with, things like peers for adolescents or peers for young adults, even peers for preschoolers. It's really about teaching these social skills around how to make and keep friends. And for young adults, we also have skills in how to develop and maintain romantic relationships. Um, and another piece to that is also teaching those conflict resolution skills and maybe bully proofing skills as well to our participants. And some of those things we talk about include things like entering and exiting conversations, whether they're individual conversations or group conversations. We talk about finding a source of friends, and so who's a good friend and who's not a great friend to make, how to have get-togethers, how to handle disagreements, and resolve conflicts in a productive way. We talk about things like managing rumors and gossip, cyberbullying, physical bullying, teasing and embarrassing feedback, a lot of different elements that all go into kind of making and keeping friends. That's the kind of common theme that's holding it together, is we're teaching people skills and how to make and keep friends. And it's not really just for neurodivergent population, also just for the general public. If people are moving a lot and they're struggling on their social fronts, these are helpful skills as well. And I've used a lot of these skills myself too, because it's not always natural for some people knowing how to enter a conversation, especially a group conversation. You don't know what steps that go into it, how to assess kind of interest, if people want to talk with you or accept you into their circle or not. And so we're teaching kind of some of those social cues and whatnot that go into it. So yeah, and we also have research studies going on right now. One is our Peers for Dating study. That's all about, that's a 16 or 20 week, I forget which one it is. It's a program all about helping people, develop and maintain romantic relationships. It's all about dating. And another one is Peers for Careers, which is a program aimed to help autistic young adults transition from college into a workspace. So teaching those soft skills and social skills around how to be successful in a work environment. So yeah, that's a little overview about what we provide.
What evidence-based techniques and strategies are used in the PEERS program to teach social skills?
Yeah, and it's important to talk about how we teach our skills versus just what we teach, right? So there is kind of like a formula of a peers method, if you would. So number one, we teach it in a small group format because it's important for people to get a chance to practice with their peers. Also just getting that sense of synergy and learning together, and everybody is trying to sort of find a sort of friends and building those skills together. It's important, especially because it's a skills building program. It's also a skills building program. Another important method is that we have didactic instruction. So we have a lesson. So a lot of other social skills programs, where maybe if you just pick up a book about social skills, it's not evidence based and there's no research to back in. So that's what makes Peers a little different from other programs, is that we have kind of like, I know, more than 75 peer reviewed papers that build the evidence base for this program. And so these are papers that show that these skills we teach are ecologically valid, meaning that these are skills people actually use that work for people. Because we know that it's really easy to give bad advice when it comes to social skills, because a lot of times people, don't have to think about what they're doing to enter social situations, and because of that, they give bad advice. But this program, there is research behind the back of the program, and so so part of it is the didactic instruction and the lesson, that we have the content that we want to follow. Because if it's just a drop-in group where you go in and talk about how your week went, that kind of feels more like group therapy, and there's a place for that, and it's good for people to have a place to go for that. But it's not always the best place to teach social skills, because we kind of want to honor the reason we're there. And so we have that lesson we can stick to. And also we have role play demonstrations in our lessons. So we can't really just talk about what the social skills are supposed to look like. We also have to see them in action. So that's a role play. And it's actually helpful to not just see an appropriate example of what to do, but we also show like inappropriate examples as well, or just different versions of it, which kind of helps people get into the mind of the other person and what it was like for the other person. So that's why we have the role play demonstrations. But there's going to be perspective taking after these role plays as well. So we ask perspective taking questions like what I said just now, like what was that like for the other person? What would they think of me? Would they want to talk to me again? Kind of engaging the social cognition piece of everything. So getting into the mind of the other person, basically. And because a lot of the participants we see, that's an area that people struggle with, and we want to promote that perspective taking. But it's also not enough to just talk about these skills or see what they look like. We also have to practice them. So we have our behavioral rehearsals where we practice these skills with our participants. So it's kind of like a formula. We're following that formula. And in order to generalize all of this in the real world, we also give homework assignments every week. And so that's where like our parents, have that support with our teams, and our social coaches have like supporting young adults to practice these homework assignments each week to generalize these skills, and they report on it each week so we can give individualized feedback. So
What do you think the like hardest skill is for like people to learn?
the hardest skill for people to learn, I think the hardest, this is like kind of like my personal opinion, but I think the hardest skill for people to learn is also the most useful skill. It's the like handling disagreements, the conflict resolution piece. I think just because part of it is, making sure to keep your cool, and that comes with a lot of, emotional regulation and knowing how to handle those difficult situations with ease. It's not something that you can just do in a day or two. Even though you have the skills, it might make it easier. And it's hard to control how the other person might react as well. But we give those skills to just set our participants up for the best they can in these conflicts. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Um, and could you share any success stories or memorable experiences from your time working there?
Memorable experiences. Yeah, I want to say, I mean, we have a lot of memorable experiences, a lot of times, and that's what drives me to continue to be passionate about this field and passionate about working in peers, is that a lot of times we see participants have their first ever get together in their life, and that's a huge thing to be able to celebrate together. Or we see participants go on their first date, things like that. And it's just like, it's really heartwarming to be able to do that for people and see that progress. And it means a lot to people because we see only intrinsically motivated participants, so teens and young adults, or we only see intrinsically motivated teens and young adults who want to be there and they want to make friends and learn these skills. And so to be able to see some of those goals be like reached within the 16-week program, it's just pretty, it's pretty I guess amazing.
And I know you mentioned a little bit on this earlier about how parents help with the homework portion, but what role do like families play in the success of the peers program, and how do you involve them?
Yeah, so for our teens, we usually have their parents to serve as a social coach. So while like we meet 90 minutes every week. I forgot to say this. For 16 weeks, we meet 90 minutes every week. And while the teens are learning the lessons in one room, the parents are meeting in a separate room with a separate clinician in that room. And yeah, they're also learning how to be a social coach for their teen. And they're going to usually be the ones practicing some of these skills as part of the homework or helping them brainstorm um, different ways to find a circle of friends or who to have a get together with, things like that. And for young adults, it's also a caregiver assisted or a social coach assisted program as well. And so a lot of times they do bring a caregiver, maybe a parent, an older sibling, but also there are times where I've seen people, I think young adults bring their partner or bring a friend or a life coach, a therapist as their social coach as well. So there's more flexibility there. But it's really just teaching this other person how to be a social coach, a mentor, like a social mentor, basically, over the 16 weeks, because we're only going to be there for the 16 weeks of their life. And it's not a huge, not a long span of time in the grand scheme of things. And so we just want to provide these skills and these coaching techniques to the other person as well.
And do you have any like personal anecdotes about like a rewarding aspect of your work?
A rewarding aspect of my work. Yeah, I feel like I started off in how I started in the peers program is I was a dating coach in our Peers for Dating research study. So they were recruiting for dating coaches and research assistants at that time. And so that's where I started to be a dating coach, which was a really fun experience to be able to serve different autistic young adults who want to learn more about dating. And we teach like skills around online dating as well. So I think it's just really fun to do that, all that online dating stuff. And and manage the sometimes the trauma from rejection or providing that validation about how difficult it is to date in general. But yeah, I served a young adult who was recently moving and whatnot and had a history of trauma or abuse or whatnot, and being able to serve them, it was really meaningful for me, and being able to help them navigate what their priorities are in their social life and find like kind of re-navigate like what may be a better priority to have, maybe since they're moving to a new place, maybe making friends could be the priority more, and building a social circle and helping them realize that, and being there to validate them and find resources for them was really meaningful for me.
What advice would you give to other clinicians and educators working with um, neurodiverse individuals?
General advice, I think that, yeah, it's important to consider that we are, supporting. I think part of peers is nice that we can see caregivers as well, because we're not only supporting our neurodivergent youth and adults and teaching these skills of maybe they could use these as tools to be better navigating our social world, because the world we live in is not always the most accommodating. It's often built for neurotypical people, and so we're giving these tools on how to navigate and decode this world. But we're also seeing their caregivers and parents a lot of times who also sometimes don't really understand the full extent of what it means to be neurodivergent and or autistic in general too. And so being able to provide that knowledge and understanding for their parents and caregivers and systems around them, so that they can feel more accepted by their family, sometimes I think is really important too. And also just a general piece of advice is just to try to, because I know a lot of times we're trained about different aspects of different diagnoses or whatnot, but also understanding the real lived experiences of people who are autistic or neurodivergent, and what their priorities are and what their needs are and how they want to be treated, and what they want to get out of different interventions or programs maybe. I think that's pretty important.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.